Parsing in FFXIV is a disease. Oh, I can't wait for this one, dude. Oh, I can't wait for this one. Whoa, baby. Like, it really feels like Misshapen chair lately has just like gone off the fucking deep end and has just completely stopped giving a shit. And I fucking love it, man. This guy might actually be my favorite Final Fantasy YouTuber. This is beautiful, man. Alright. Let's go.
Greetings, travelers. This will be my last truly evil video for a while. Time to really get under people's skin.
Mostly added on
talk
top
about
Renedy.
a calculator. Parsing itself as in the act of tabulating damage numbers is not inherently good or bad. It's just a stat line. It's what people choose to do with these stats that ultimately—
Stop! We're already dead! Stop it, man! Fuck! Stop showing this shit, bro! Oh my god. Why must you do me like this, man?
devalues it. Unfortunately, disliking parsing brings out some turbo casuals who think that I'm advocating for not pressing buttons at all. So to help you out, here is my fflog's profile. Please ignore those last 3 numbers. I did those on patch release when Samurai competition had already completely died, so it's not legitimate, much like how any parse is not legitimate. If you can't deal adequate damage or insist on slowing down my normal instances to a crawl, I am disappointed in you. Please do better. With that, parsing is a disease. It poisons people's minds and the way in which they dare to perceive this game. It is an illness that infects the very core of people's beings and possesses them to make the most inane decisions and vacuous statements. People believe that their worth as a person is determined by their rank on fflogs. It isn't. It's worthless. It is a means to create a hierarchy within the raiding community so that some clears are better than others. This is when I say that high score competitions are fine, and I don't even hate people for grinding this shit out. But what I do hate is how it bleeds into every facet of raiding to the point of redundancy, where
this man gets it. This man gets it. It's not about like people not liking competition or being jealous or something like that. It's about the fact that people take like these rankings and they apply it to literally everything they do. Okay? I'm early in the video chat, just bear with me. It's not okay, man. It's not okay to wipe people in 2 chests because you wanted to greet a GCD that results in a tether not breaking, just looking at this fight in particular. It's not okay to, like, pass in a situation where people aren't passing and you are therefore doing so at the expense of other people. It's not okay to care beyond a certain point about your damage output in a progression scenario where the goal is to learn mechanics and optimize as you go to improve the efficiency of clearing those phases. FFlogs does a lot of good things. It provides a tool and a lot of detailed information that can be translated into getting better as a player. That's great. I'm fucking happy with that. We need that. A lot of people need that, some more than others. But when people let it define them, and it's like their only purpose, I just don't really get it, you know? it's nice to have a nice page of logs. I pushed pretty hard this tier 2. We achieved, like, I don't know, rank 2 RDPS or something. Like, rank 1 ADPS for a couple weeks. That was pretty cool. Weeks? More like days. But anyway. You do that in scenarios where, like, that's the goal. You don't do it elsewhere.
I have dumbasses telling me that losing a single GCD of uptime for an easier strat is trolling, and I should commit Hisatsu Kaiten instead of just clearing the fight and moving on. It's also why our current Savage tier has next to 0 melee downtime, because these fuckfaces couldn't imagine having to disconnect from the boss for a split second during progression. We all just wanted to hit a training dummy for the whole fight, huh? Even though downtime optimizations is where all the actual work goes into playing this game at a top level. Paladin Spreadsheet Gaming is a popular meme for this specific reason. It also creates my other favorite type of player, which are healers who are more concerned about a number on an unofficial scoreboard than keeping people alive. These are also the people that insist that losing an energy drain cast is very important and very consequential.
Alright, so, like, this is some more... The takes are warming up a bit. Alright. I'm not much at liberty to talk about this as a physical ranged main. I'm not talking about the energy drain bit, by the way. I'm talking about the bit before it, with the whole melee uptime thing. Alright. Downtime on some classes is objectively not fun. Especially when it's like stuns and shit, like in P2S. That shit is annoying. When I have a static rotation and my GCD is artificially thrown out of sync by fucking stuns, it sucks. It's annoying. It's not fun. But I do agree that there is a great deal of, like, optimization to be had around this idea of, like, working out what to do in the case of downtime. And I don't think that's something that should be ignored. Especially in prog when you're trying to optimize, especially on, like, a last floor because the DPS is tighter. And maybe there's a mechanic that provides some downtime, even just a short bit. Knowing how to deal with that is quite good. You know? But at the end of the day, people also don't like excessive downtime because just on the principle that it's not fun. People want to press buttons. My T-static almost fell apart because our healer only cares about DPS. I'm sorry to hear that, Gruz. That sucks. It's annoying. You know, I understand the take that it's a disease because it just infects people's minds. They get into this head state that they must always be passing at orange plus. Despite some of that even just being very kill time and crit dependent. Otherwise they're like some subpar player. I'm glad ultimates exist because it fucking beats the FFLog's junkie out of you.
Yeah, that extra 100 potency is a real difference maker. All because they can't just get a clear. Instead, their team is simply an obstacle preventing them from getting a completely worthless medal. Part of why talking about parses is so stupid is because what do these ranks even mean? It means that of the people who cleared, what percentile of damage dealing you are in. Keywords, of the people who clear. This means that even the shittiest parse of a fight is a clear. This is why a 50 parse, which is right in the middle, and average, isn't actually average, because it doesn't consider how many people attempted but never cleared the fight in the first place. It's also why it's funny as fuck to listen to some booger taste testers say that a gray parse in an ultimate is not a real clear. So then you go ahead and ask them what parse they got. Oh, what's that? You didn't clear it? How about you shut the fuck up? While a
I mean, I feel like this is reading into it a bit too much. Like, some people do just like competition. People see numbers and rankings and they're like, man, I want to get high up. If it was ever just that simple and that's all that like fflogs amounted to, and it didn't just infect the player base with this idea of pretty much what I spoke about 2 minutes ago, then that would be fine. And at that point, like, I don't think you need to care about things like this. Because it doesn't matter. It's like, yeah, it's of the people who clear. But, like, otherwise, how would that competition exist? But again, like, the problem is the ego. And the attitude that it causes. The problem is not, like, the parsing itself.
Gray Parson in Ultimate is more impressive than a Gray in Savage.
But like,
it doesn't matter.
Bad, yeah.
But these imbeciles can't even tell the difference anyways. It's not only that, it's also stupid because they get so focused on their score line, they forgot what it was even about in the first place, which is the actual damage dealt. Not the ranking, not the efficiency score, but the actual raw DPS. Even if you compare all these parses of mine, you will realize that the variance in actual DPS percentage is so small, it is barely even worth considering. Only the absolute worst runs where I died several times and played exceptionally poorly stick out. This even ties into stuff like crit variance, where even with old Samurai, it was hard to see when crit variance made any sort of meaningful difference on actual DPS, almost as if it wasn't a big deal. Even
I'm confused. Is he saying that, like, crit variance doesn't make a big difference? Because I would like to dispute that one a little bit. In the context of clearing something. Well, yeah, in the context of clearing something, sure. Yes. Apart from maybe, like, week 1 last floor, where, like, crits may be the difference between clearing and not. That was definitely the case with the E8S, for example. But like, I don't know, man. Crit variance is quite dire sometimes. When it comes to like ranking and shit, it is bad. But this is what I use to like discourage people from like caring so much about passes, because there's so many factors that aren't in your control. Like crit variance, like kill time, like I guess the point he's making is that like percentile wise there's a difference, but DPS wise there isn't such a difference. And I guess it is blown up a bit by the percentile you get as a result. So yeah, like that makes sense. Yeah, no, I realize he's not talking about like week 1.
And then, when people do talk about actual DPS, these damage comparisons create ignorant slaves. Those who can only go to whatever job is meta
this is the
and
problem.
optimal. They form a mass of nameless flesh that move around and collectively spread their filth over any job that they touch. Thanks to their impure motives, they do not appreciate a job for the niche that it occupies and the gameplay that it has. They only want to do big number. This is why they end up complaining about stuff that they find annoying when the people who actually like the job can't relate and don't understand. It's thanks to this formless sack of meat that you never want your job to be meta so that they can leave it the fuck alone. That way these unskilled floor lickers can go ruin something else instead.
Oh, boo-hoo, I need to leave Caitlin at these specific times for my opener, and it takes up too much.
Is this video just like a veiled way of complaining about Samurai, except he gave up halfway through and just started complaining anyway? Holy shit.
Can't you make it easier so that I can play the best melee DPS? Fuck you. Samurai is selfish and
I
can't
don't
be
blame him.
1% behind.
Shut the fuck up. All of this fruitless discussion so that they can finally realize that maybe the only thing that you should care about is if a job is viable, not if it's optimal.
Yes.
Because
correct.
of course, something will always have to be the best and something will always have to be the worst. But if the difference between
Stop! Stop it! Why do you keep taking fucking stabs at me, bro? The collective agrees. Shut up, it's not griefing. Not when you have my fingers behind. Alright, that's just fucking weird. Oh my god.
the best and the worst is next to nothing, why does anybody fucking care? Meta discussions are up there with some of the most vapid and useless content I can think of. While it is not inherently bad to theorycraft, it indulges these slaves who don't realize that metagaming is unfathomably unnecessary in order to be successful.
I mean, he's completely right. Like, you know, I don't. This is very old news by now, but like, we basically proved that simply by, like, clearing like day 3 or something with a double-ranged comp, which just threw everyone just into disarray. Fucking Japanese blogs, fucking. We had like hateful DMs telling my raid lead to fucking kick me because I was griefing or something. Like, bruv. When will it stop? When will people understand that it doesn't fucking matter? Jesus Christ. Just press your fucking buttons properly and it doesn't matter. If you're racing or you're speed killing, okay, sure. I understand. Makes a lot of sense, yes. But what the fuck is this idea about needing meta to clear a fight in like week fucking 16 on like any given day? Like, it's crazy, man. When I go into PF, which I haven't for a bit, and I out DPS every motherfucker in there with my supposed dead job. Do we really want to talk about meta?
MCH in the grave.
Or do we want to talk about how, like... or do we want to talk about how people just can't push their fucking buttons properly? Are we doing streamer glare run today? I don't know. Maybe. You know, because I know what the answer is. You can say what you like about, like, the decision to run double ranged and shit. But did it really cause that much of a disadvantage? It caused, like... It caused, like, 1 extra in rage. Want to play meta, start playing the job the way you're supposed to? Yeah, because that's the only time it fucking applies. Craziness, man. Rainbow, thank you for 6 months, man. Appreciate it. Welcome back, dude. Thank you, dude.
This game. Ultimately
Good.
making
Whoops,
other
has
Raiders'
it right,
experience
yeah.
worse for no reason. There are still some fart sniffers insisting that Paladin isn't worth bringing this late into the tier, thanks to the absolute sheer ignorance to the fact that there were Paladins clearing week 1 before they got a DPS and a self-sustain buff. Meaning that if you didn't clear week 1, it might be because you just fucking suck at the game, but accepting that might make you feel bad. Well, you should consider joining me and accept your own shittiness. Even with all of this, people can't understand the numbers even when they do.
Sometimes I imagine a British Misshapen chair. Like, his humor is like drier than a lot of us. If this man was British, holy fuck. Someone would be calling like the fucking Good Samaritan helpline for this man every time he released a video.
Look at them.
Because they're
Time to
genuinely
take a
worried
look
for his
at
mental
good old
health.
FFLogs. Let's go to the statistics.
Oh boy, Lars, look! Someone tell Lars he's in a Misshapen chair video. Quickly.
Tab real quick. You see this little scale down here? You see how it
Doing
doesn't
some
start at the
investigations.
number 0. This is done so that you can see the variance more clearly. But if you don't have a basic understanding of how this will affect the shapes of these box diagrams, you might think that Ninja is contributing 25% more DPS than Dancer, where if you scale it down, the difference is less than 9%. This is still stupid though, because you're comparing different role types, instead of comparing things within the role type, where that
That doesn't help. That does not help. I'm sorry, Mr. Chair. I'm gonna have to disagree with you here. I'm gonna have to put a big asterisk on your statement here. Except it doesn't make sense. Because a pure DPS should not be down here. Fuck me.
variance becomes painfully irrelevant. But you'll look at this just so that you can complain about some job needing to do more damage. No, it doesn't. I don't care if you think that it needs to. If it does enough damage to clear the content, then it's fine. Also, when you open up your pathetic fucking ACT overlay, this little window here does not factor in how much damage you contribute by accounting for raid buffs, which is why people had this stupid fucking window open when playing 6.05 Ninja, and they would see that they didn't do that much damage and then complain that Ninja was underpowered for months, even though it was literally close to the top RDPS in the entire metagame when you accounted for old trick attack. It is
it's actually kind of funny how often I see people ask like about ACT numbers and like what it's actually showing. A lot of people actually didn't seem to know. I assume it's newer players. They didn't know that it was just showing like raw damage and not like our DPS contribution and stuff. So people were like just jumping to these inane conclusions. It took so long for people to get the memo that Ninja was fixed. Like it was fixed when? But after that, everyone was just still shitting on Ninja for weeks, months. When actually it was then fine.
Thanks to these lobotomites, that trick attack had to be changed, all because they think raid buffs are useless. This is not a phenomenon unique to Final Fantasy XIV or even unique to MMOs. It is a mentality that invades every single game. What is the best character? What is the best build? What is the best role? What is the best strategy? I have seen people insist on playing a character that they don't like in a fighting game purely because they heard that character is the best, only to get steamrolled by a considered bottom tier character from someone who actually knows how to play the game.
Hey look, that's me in PF! On Machinist! Thank you for the analogy.
Because it turns out that fundamentals are always more important than the character that you play. Because of fucking course it is. It is a much better use of your time to play the job that you know how to play best, which usually means you are going to put a lot of time into it, which usually means it is the job that you have the most fun playing.
Yes.
Thankfully, this is what the majority of the player base does. They play the jobs that they find interesting, but you know what usually happens? These are the players who like their job. They like the way that it plays, and rarely would they be the ones to ask for anything that would change that play style. Meta slaves ruin everybody else's fun because they want to play the best job, and everything that gets in their way is just a hindrance that prevents them from doing that. Thank you for everything that you ruined by insisting on this framework of number bullshit that only matters for speed kill groups and parse runs, of which you are most certainly not a part of. I didn't have a good place to slide
True.
in this point, but usually this shit gets thrown in with the fact that people who take this game seriously are going to be more competitive and ultimately better players. Would you rather have a toxic tryhard or a turbo casual in your party? Trick question. I don't want either of those players in my group. Get the fuck out of here. This is a false argument of extremes that just doesn't exist. The best players in this game are not the ones forcing bullshit strats onto randoms and getting heated at every single moment. It's the people who know how to play the game well enough and are chilled out. That's the kind of player that you want on your team. Last point. I hate when higher rank parsers want to make their job easier. You want to know why? Because it doesn't benefit you. Why would you ever want other people to be able to easily get the stupid use?
I want a casual tryhard. That sentence doesn't make sense.
Useless numbers that you do. That's right. This mentality comes from higher rank parsers, not actual top rank parsers. Top rank players are usually the ones who care the least about making a job easier.
Toxic
and
casuals
simultaneously
does make sense.
care the least about the metagame. It's always the people who think they are better than they are who have to decide to bring it upon themselves to lower the bar. All so that they have a better shot at getting a better number on a website that isn't officially recognized for a group of people who are never going to acknowledge the work that you put into the game anyways, because all they do is explain away others' success. You will never win over people if you play this game well, because it's all about putting people down. That should be enough for this
Damn,
one.
dude.
What's parsing
Rough.
good for? To see if you're doing adequate damage to meet the DPS checks in hard content, or check to see what went wrong in a wipe if it was not obvious. Otherwise, it's good to extend the lifetime of content if you find like-minded people who want to optimize beyond what is required, which is still cool to look at, and that's it. Now let's get out there and ruin yet another job.
Sounds good, man. Good video, dude. I don't agree with all of it, but I agreed with most of it. I think most of it is true. Good shit.